The fifth big trend, our economic base is changing. What these bars show is from the year 1990 to 2008. The bottom part of the bar is manufacturing. That's gone from 17% down to under 10% of our employment base. And healthcare is the dark maroon part of those bars. That's done the reverse, gone from 10% to over 15%. Why does this matter? Well, again, it affects different parts of the state differently. The counties, laid out as I did in the other charts, show much higher concentration in manufacturing and a much greater vulnerability in some of Maine counties when we see the loss of manufacturing base in various regions. In addition, healthcare has emerged as the most important in terms of growth industries in Maine. And it's not that that's a bad thing, but when you look at Maine shown in red as a percentage of jobs and then as a percentage of income relative to the U.S., which is shown in green, we have a much, much higher dependence on healthcare than any other place, well, than certainly the U.S. average. So finally, how are these trends affecting and putting pressure on our government? Well, we spoke to the need for the importance of investment in higher ed. So our government's being pressured to invest in higher education to raise incomes. And yet, when you look over the past 3 or 4 decades, the percentage of our general fund that we've invested in higher ed has gone from 18% down to 9%. Government needs to invest in research and development and innovation to fully engage Maine in the new economy and the global economy and to move us along in new forms of technology. Well, the good news is we're on the map. That's the bottom line. Maine is investing about 1% of gross domestic product, but the nation is investing at 2.5%, 2.5 times our rate, and New England is almost 5 times the investment of what we are doing in Maine. So while we're making progress, we need to continue to invest and ramp up. We need to invest in basic infrastructure, particularly to tie in those very critical rural economies in Maine. Currently, 12% of our bridges in Maine are structurally deficient. Think about that, if you will, when you cross a bridge. And 25% of our roads are in poor or critical condition. If we want to have a modern, productive economy, we have to find a way to keep that infrastructure strong and to invest in telecommunications. Maine's the middle set of bars. Good news, phenomenal growth and outreach of high-speed internet. But the bad news, we're not keeping pace with either the U.S. or certainly not the region. So in addition to asking our government to make sure we focus some investments, we're asking them to help us cut costs. We have to cut costs. Our structures are out of line. If we want businesses to invest in Maine, we have to address these critical areas. Healthcare, one of the most critical issues. Maine has headed off the cost path and separated from the U.S. We can get back to the U.S. We used to be at nearer the U.S. average, but we've taken a different path. Now we have to make some tough choices to try to bring that back in line. We have to get energy costs in line. We're about 60% higher than the U.S. average. Taking control of energy costs will be a piece of this puzzle. And of course, the taxes. Now we've made some movement in the right direction on taxes. Maine burden has come down in the most recent reports. Our rankings have come down a bit, but you'll see we remain above the New England average. So while we've made great progress, we need to stay on that course and try to make some of the decisions that will hopefully bring this structure much more in line with the region and with the U.S. So overall, what do we need to do? Keep our eye on the ball. We need to close this gap that separates us from the nation in per capita income. As I mentioned, back in the 70s, we used to be anywhere from 16 to 18% below the U.S. average in per capita income. We've closed the gap to about half of that, and we need to close it even further if we hope to attain that vision we're seeking. So what do we have to do? Focus on the fundamentals, make some very tough decisions, and there's no time like a crisis to have the courage to make the decisions we need to make for Maine. And then we need to make sure that the next time the tide goes out, that we are all fully clad. Thank you.